390 million views. The internet does not forget, and the Chinese consumer base certainly. Welcome back. It's Mr. I'm going to post more often, and today we're going to be covering Dolce Gabbana, understanding and breaking down Dolce Gabbana in a very palatable and quick way, so you don't have to read some boring journal. I will, however, preface by saying I am slightly biased in the fact that when I first got into fashion, Dolce Gabbana was something that drew me in, but this is very far back and we have some great drama that I'm sure you've heard, but not with this level of enthusiasm to dive into. So grab your coffee, tea or water and let's get into the video. As always, here is the outfit of the day. I'm wearing a Cavempt windbreaker, ASOS pants and common projects. Very simple fit, sometimes a staple go-to. Let's begin. Dolce Gabbana, or D&G, is a fashion luxury brand that came to life in 1985 when two designers working for a Milan fashion house decided, let's start our own brand. They quickly got to work, and in 1986 they had their first runway show where they were showcasing a women's collection. Now, I personally found this quite interesting. Why were they showcasing a women's collection? And the answer is simple. They felt that the best way to enter the high-end luxury market was through women's fashion. And I suppose that at that period of time, maybe men's luxury fashion was not as developed or not as easy to penetrate. And so that's how they came up with women's fashion. And the designs are praised because they kept the Italian craftsmanship and combined it with a contemporary style. And this quickly gave them a very recognizable style and already started to solidify them in the fashion scene. As mentioned, they quickly started to gain traction, and in 1992 they released a men's fashion line, followed by 1994 a kids fashion line. Really, 1990s was a good time for Dolce & Gabbana because this is when they started to become associated with bold prints and colors and also their sexy designs they had going on. I guess they got a little bored because they started making other fashion accessories as well and fragrances. 1992 they released Dolce & Gabbana Pour Femme, and this was well loved and well received by the ladies. Again, they went with the female demographic for perfume. I was going to say cologne, but perfume. And this does make sense considering, I guess, up until 6 years before the men's collection came out, they were doing female stuff and the girls loved it. This was also the time era in which celebrities started wearing their stuff. And I'm talking like big pop stars, ones I know, and I don't really know pop like that. We had Madonna, we have Isabella Rossellini, and we also have Kylie Minogue. I love Kylie Minogue, by the way. The global expansion of Dolce & Gabbana was cemented when in 1993 they had their first runway show in America. They followed their international dub by opening a flagship store in Milan in 1994. Dolce & Gabbana by now had become a very well-established fashion brand, and they were very decorated with awards and accolades. I can't go into all of them because it's genuinely quite long, but some very recognizable ones were in 1996 they got the Designer of the Year by the Italian Fashion Academy. And they also received in 1997 an award, the International Designer of the Year award by the CFDA, I believe. This doesn't touch, however, on the fact that they had a lot of awards for ads and very successful campaigns in this as well. Like I said, they're very well decorated. Actually, even recently in a big billboard in Paris, I saw a Dolce & Gabbana ad where this man went up to a mirror and just stared at himself and kissed the mirror. It's very cringy, but I took notice of it. Now again, Dolce & Gabbana seemed bored, and so I guess in 2000 they decided, let's expand. They went into home decor, and in 2002 they released their first homeware collection, followed by, in 2002, their first eyewear collection. They also decided, you know what, let's get into watches. Now, if you know anything about watches, fashion and watches do not mix. It's a complicated process. I can't go into too much detail here because I will ramble for a very long time. Now, it's no surprise that most brands face controversy, but Dolce & Gabbana committed absolute business and financial offing when they decided to run an ad campaign which slaughtered them. People who are into fashion and people who aren't into fashion also know about this, and in 2018 they ran an ad campaign just before their Shanghai show in which they depicted the model Zoe, I probably said that wrong, eating pasta and pizza, struggling, should I add, with chopsticks, while the voiceover was patronizing her in Mandarin, explaining to her how to eat these foods. It comes to no surprise that this absolutely blew up on social media and forced a boycott from the Chinese consumers, and pretty much actually the global consumers. To add fuel to the flame, we had Diet Prada, everyone's favorite news outlet, go ahead and leak DMs of Stefano, I believe, Mr. Gabbana, in which they detailed some very racist remarks And again, like I said, added fuel to the fire. Dolce & Gabbana were basically publicly crucified. If you want the perfect example of the internet does not forget, in 2021, 2 years ago, a Hong Kong artist posted a music video where she was wearing a Dolce & Gabbana cloak. Over the weekend, on the app Weibo, a hashtag went trending with over 390 million views. 390 million views after 3 years. 3 years since 2018 incident. That's mad. That's mad. The internet does not forget, and the Chinese consumer base certainly didn't, because Dolce & Gabbana still have not recovered from that incident, and they are still shutting stores to this day. They also had a little run-in with tax, but every big company tries to avoid tax and gets hit with a little baby slap on the wrist. Their slap on the wrist was 400 million USD. They also fought that case from 2011 to 2018. So within 7 years, and trust me, they make good money as a fashion house, I'm sure they were comfortably able to alleviate that tax problem. Regardless, despite all of these controversies, Dolce & Gabbana still manages to produce high quality clothes and fragrances, stuff like that. I actually really like their fragrances. And they still have flagship stores in Tokyo, London, Paris, New York. So they're still doing fine. Now, as a brand, and I do not have a scale yet, I'm giving Dolce & Gabbana a 5 out of 10. Promise me I'll see you in the next video.